Welcome to the Deep Dive, your express lane to being truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into, a courtroom drama that honestly reads like a blockbuster script. We're
Mhm.
talking about the high-profile assault trial involving Cardi B.
Right.
A security guard is suing her for a staggering $24 million, claiming assault during an incident at a medical office.
24 million. Wow.
Yeah. So our mission today is really to unpack day 3 of this trial. It was apparently a day just brimming with intense testimony, some unexpected twists, direct confrontations. We're going to hear directly from Cardi B herself, and then crucially from two eyewitnesses who were like right there in the hallway. We've got a stack of sources here that lay out every dramatic detail, and we're here to help you connect the dots.
Yeah, and it's a classic case, really. You've got these conflicting narratives, millions are on the line, and the truth. It just seems to shift depending on who's speaking. So, navigating these personal accounts, the legal strategies, it takes a keen eye for detail. Will help you spot those key moments, the ones that could really sway a jury. This deep dive, it's all about understanding the nuances, how a courtroom story unfolds, especially when there's a big celebrity involved.
Okay, so let's open those courtroom doors, metaphorically speaking, and start with Cardi B's time back on the stand on day 3. The stakes, like we said, incredibly high. That $24 million damages claim from the security guard Emani. And this whole thing happened during what Cardi B really insisted should have been a very private medical appointment.
That privacy aspect seems pretty central to her side.
It does. But first is a piece of crucial context. This really set the stage for her testimony. The judge had already ruled that any of Cardi B's prior alleged, let's say, bad acts, the microphone thing in Vegas, past police reports, none of that could be brought up during this trial.
Okay, that's significant.
Yeah, a huge win for Cardi B's defense. Apparently, the plaintiff's attorneys were fighting pretty hard to get that stuff in.
Oh, I bet. That pretrial ruling, it's not just some minor technical point, it's like a strategic bedrock.
Right.
In these high-profile cases, there's always that temptation, right, to leverage a public figure's past,
Yeah.
create this narrative of a repeat offender.
Right, paint a picture.
Exactly.
Mm.
So by keeping those past incidents out, the judge basically forced the jury to focus only on the alleged incident itself. It prevents a kind of trial by reputation for the fence. That's like clearing the board before the game even really starts. It let them control the narrative much more tightly around just the specifics of this one day.
That makes a lot of sense, a huge point. So, okay, with that ruling setting the stage, Cardi B herself takes the stand again, ready to tell her side, and it hinged heavily on, well, privacy and vulnerability. Her testimony focused a lot on her emotional state, her physical vulnerability during the incident. She claims she wasn't, quote, on a high level of angry, but more on a high level of concern.
Concern. Why concern specifically?
Because, and this was a key point she brought up, she was pregnant at the time.
Oh, okay.
She described herself as very disabled when pregnant, saying she couldn't protect myself even if I wanted to. And she kept coming back to the privacy of the medical appointment, saying she felt violated, that her medical info, especially about the pregnancy, was being exposed.
Mhm.
She even mentioned the size difference between her and the security guard, Emani. Said Emani was twice my size and security heavy,
Funny.
meaning, her words were, looks a little like she could protect the building, kind of implying Imani was physically imposing.
Gotcha.
So from a legal strategy angle, how effective is that? Emphasizing pregnancy, vulnerability, does that shift perception away from her being the addressor?
Oh, it's incredibly powerful. But it's also like a tightrope walk.
How so?
Well, you want to elicit empathy, right?
Mhm.
And in a civil assault case, that empathy can be a massive swing factor. The risk, though, is if the jury sees it as calculated, like a deflection rather than a genuine state of mind.
Right, authenticity is key.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if it's handled well, and it sounds like it might have been here, it completely repositions her whole defense. It frames her reaction not as some aggressive act, but as like a protective, almost instinctual response to feeling violated, vulnerable. It's not just about what happened, but why it happened from her point of view. And that's crucial for intent in an assault claim.
Okay, makes sense. But what about the actual yelling match? The verbal altercation? Cardi B admitted saying, and there's an expletive here, bitch, get the F off my face. Why are you in my face? Why are you recording me? Ain't you supposed to be security?
Okay, so she admits to that.
Yes. But she also claimed Imani was yelling back. Things like, get the F out my building. I can do whatever the F I want, and I don't give a F who you are.
So a heated exchange, clearly.
Definitely. Does admitting to using that kind of strong language, even if she felt provoked, does that undermine her whole vulnerable narrative?
That's where witness credibility really comes in. And the context of provocation. A jury might find that language unprofessional. Sure, absolutely. But if it's presented as a direct, heated response to what she felt was an invasion of privacy and a security guard being way out of line.
Especially if other people back that up.
Right. Especially if other witnesses corroborate that the security guard was being aggressive, it could actually strengthen her claim that she was provoked, not the instigator. It makes her seem, well, human, reacting to a stressful situation, not some cold, calculated aggressor. It's about proportionality, you know. If Emani was escalating things, Cardi B's outburst might be seen differently.
Interesting point. And then there was this weird detail about her nails.
Her nails?
Yeah. The plaintiff's attorney asked if she could have scratched the guard with them. But Cardi B testified her nails that week were a square coffin shape. No points, no sharp edges. And they apparently had pictures from the 2018 All-Star Weekend to prove it.
Huh. Specific.
Very. She ultimately just asserted she did not threaten, spit on, or assault Emani, and kept saying she was the one who felt violated.
You know, that nails detail, it might seem minor, right? Like, why are we talking about fingernails?
Yeah, a bit random.
But it speaks to the plaintiff trying to establish how an assault could have even happened physically. So by showing pictures of this specific blunt nail shape, Cardi B's defense is directly countering one possible way the alleged physical harm could have occurred. It's a small detail, but it's tangible evidence that can chip away at the plaintiff's story about injury.
Okay. So we've heard Cardi B's side, very emotional, strategic, focusing on feeling violated and vulnerable. But, you know, often the real picture starts to emerge when you hear from truly independent voices, people who are just there.
Right, the bystanders.
Exactly. And on day 3, the jury finally heard from the people who were actually there, not just in the room, but caught right in the middle of this escalating situation. We're talking about the receptionist, Tiara Malcolm, and Cardi B's own doctor, Dr. Finicky.
Okay, these are crucial.
Crucial. And their stories, as you'll hear, started painting a very different and potentially decisive picture. First up, Tiara Malcolm, the receptionist at the medical office. She testified she heard a commotion, opened the door, and immediately stepped between Cardi B and Emani.
Got the middle. Okay.
Yeah, and she told Emani, "What are you doing? You're at work. Go back to your post."
Whoa, telling the security guard that.
Yes, which clearly suggests she saw Emani as the one acting unprofessionally, the one needing to be redirected.
That's a strong indicator right there.
Tiara said there were hands going while she was in the middle, and she actually got a scratch on her forehead.
Oh, so she was physically involved slightly.
Seems so, but she explicitly said she did not see either Cardi B or Emani actually strike each other, and critically, Tiara stated she saw no injury at all on Emani's face, and no spit on her face.
No injury, no spit. Okay, that directly contradicts the plaintiff's core claim, right?
It seems to, and she also testified she heard Emani yell, "I will F your shit up" at Cardi B.
So she heard Emani making threats.
Yes. What's immediately striking there is the receptionist's intervention, isn't it? Her first instinct was telling Emani to get back to her post.
Yeah, that says a lot about who she thought was escalating things or just acting inappropriately for their job.
Definitely.
And the fact she saw no injuries on Emani, heard Emani making aggressive threats, I mean, that starts to seriously undermine the security guard's whole claim of being assaulted.
Yeah.
She's a neutral party, right?
Yeah.
Just office staff. Her immediate assessment, what she saw and heard, that's vital.
And it gets even more interesting. Apparently, a few months later, Emani allegedly called Tiara.
Called her? About what?
Asking her to help sue Cardi B.
Get out of here, seriously.
That's what Tiara testified, and she declined. She told the court, quote, "I didn't feel like she was in the right and that Emani had handled the situation unprofessionally."
Wow, okay, that's potentially huge.
Huge. Tiara even filed her own report with Imani's security company because she felt the conduct was so unprofessional, she was worried about future patients.
So she put it in writing at the time.
Seems like it. Now, under cross-examination, Tiara did concede. Okay, Cardi B was behind her when she was in the middle. So she couldn't definitively say what Cardi B's hands were doing back there.
Fair enough. She can see everything.
Right. But she speculated her own scratch probably came from Emani because Emani was facing her and, you know, hands were going. And jury questions later revealed Emani had a phone in her hand during all this. And Cardi B was described as upset, emotional, and worried about her appointment.
Okay, so this takes Tiara's testimony beyond just observations. It gets into motivation. Emani allegedly trying to recruit Tiara for the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And Tiara refusing because she felt Emani was wrong. And then Tiara independently filing a report against Emani. Those are incredibly damaging details for the plaintiff. It paints a picture, doesn't it, of a security guard maybe not just acting unprofessionally, but potentially trying to fabricate or exaggerate a claim. Jurors hate that.
Yeah, that could really backfire.
Absolutely. That scratch detail, yeah, it's ambiguous, but it seems less important when you weigh it against the bigger picture of Imani's alleged conduct and motivations.
Okay, so that was the receptionist. Then, the final witness of the whole trial, Dr. Fininki, Cardi B's doctor.
The doctor himself. Okay.
He testified he heard yelling, ran out to the hallway, found TR already between the two women. He observed a lot of yelling, a lot of finger pointing. He saw his receptionist get struck not hard on the shoulder.
Saw Tiara get hit slightly.
Yes.
Huh.
He noticed Emani had a phone, moving it from her ear to point it, and that her hands were flailing. Not closed fists, he said, more like swatting.
Flailing and swatting. Okay.
And Dr. Fininki said he focused on de-escalation, specifically talking to Emani, telling her, this was not okay, this is your job.
Again, focusing on Imani's conduct.
Exactly. And significantly, he stated he was less than a foot away from Emani right afterwards.
Okay, very close.
And saw no injuries, no scratches, no cuts, no blood, and no spit or spittle on her face.
Wow. Flat out denial of any visible signs of assault.
Pretty much. He also heard Emani say, I will F your shit up, just like Tiara heard.
Corroboration. That's powerful.
And he said he did not see Cardi B spit, swing, hit, scratch, or cut Emani. He also testified about the nails again. Said Cardi B did not have 3-inch nails that day. He was confident because apparently he makes a point of looking at patients' fingernails.
Okay. Another detail matching up.
And he confirmed the picture of the square coffin nails from All-Star Weekend looked like what he remembered.
Man, the doctor's testimony. That's just a massive blow to the plaintiff's case, isn't it?
It feels that way.
He's not just independent. He's a medical professional.
Yeah.
Trained to see injuries, right? His being super close to Emani afterwards and saying emphatically, no injuries. I mean, that directly rebuts the core claim of a physical assault. And when you add in his observation that Emani was the one being aggressive and his telling her to remember her job, it just adds immense weight to the defense's story. The story of provocation, unprofessional conduct by Emani. It's really hard for a jury to ignore that kind of consistent testimony from two independent, credible professionals.
And it didn't stop there either. Dr. Fininki took it really seriously afterwards. He filed his own report about Imani's behavior, stated he wanted her gone.
He wanted her fired.
Yes. And he believes his report led to her firing, not anything Cardi B did directly.
Okay, that's another important distinction.
Now, under cross-examination, yeah, he acknowledged he wasn't in the hallway the entire time. Things started before he got there.
Okay, a standard point to make for the plaintiff's lawyer.
Sure, but he adamantly denied testifying just to favor his celebrity patient. He said he was there as one of 4 witnesses, and he was, quote, flabbergasted by the allegations that don't seem congruent with what I saw that day.
Flabbergasted. Strong word.
Yeah. He emphasized how important patient safety is in his office. And then, this was pretty powerful, Dr. Fininki revealed he canceled all his afternoon appointments that day.
Canceled his patients.
Yes, and was not being paid to testify. He said he was there because he wanted to be.
Wow.
So, okay, a prosecutor or the plaintiff's attorney here might argue, well, he's still her doctor. There's a relationship, maybe some bias.
Sure, they'd have to try that angle.
How does his decision to cancel patients testify for free? How does that counter the potential bias argument in a jury's mind?
Oh, it's extremely effective. It really is. Anytime a witness, especially a professional like a doctor, sacrifices their own time and income to testify, it just speaks volumes about their conviction, their perceived neutrality.
Right, it's not about gain for him.
Exactly. It goes way beyond just a simple patient-doctor relationship. It shows he's sticking to his professional duty, his personal belief in the truth of what he saw, rather than, money or celebrity influence. He's basically saying, look, I value the truth and the safety of my patients more than my afternoon's income.
Yeah.
For a jury. That's incredibly persuasive. Makes it much harder for the other side to just paint him as some celebrity doctor covering for his patient.
Absolutely. Persuasive indeed.
Yeah.
So, what does this all mean for the jury then? We've heard these wildly different versions of what went down, but these 2 independent eyewitnesses, the receptionist and the doctor, they really seem to fill in critical gaps and provide this very consistent counter-narrative to the plaintiff's claims.
Yeah, the consistency is striking.
The plaintiff's attorney, they clearly tried to hammer on Cardi B's anger, portray her as the aggressor, questioned her claims about being vulnerable due to the pregnancy, even pushed this idea of body shaming.
Right, trying to find cracks in her story.
But Cardi B consistently denied being that angry, claimed it was concern for her pregnancy, denied making fun of Imani's weight, though she did admit calling her a bitch during the heat of it.
Hmm.
But the real clincher, it feels like, is the alleged physical assault and the injuries. The guards suing for $24 million. That implies serious harm, right?
You'd think so for that amount of money.
Yet both Tiara, the receptionist, and Dr. Finnicky testified they saw no visible injuries, no spit on Imani's face right after it happened. That just directly contradicts the whole premise of the lawsuit, the idea of a significant assault causing major damages.
And this is really the legal bedrock in so many assault cases,
Mm-hmm.
where the physical evidence is, let's say, ambiguous or non-existent immediately after. When you have two independent professionals, a doctor, a receptionist, both putting their own reputations and time on the line, giving consistent details that undermine the central claim of physical harm.
And support the idea of provocation.
Exactly. And support the idea of a provoked, non-assaultive response from Cardi B. It fundamentally shifts the burden of proof. It's not just making the picture clear. It can often be the difference between a multi-million-dollar verdict and the case being thrown out. It just highlights how crucial those neutral voices become, especially when the plaintiff is claiming enormous damages for injuries that nobody else seems to have seen.
And it wasn't just about the lack of injury, was it? Both witnesses also heard Emani yelling aggressive stuff like, "I will F your shit up."
Right.
And they both described her behavior as unprofessional, agitated, actively confronting Cardi B Tiara, telling her to go back to her post, the doctor telling her, "This is your job."
Exactly. Which leads to the big question for the jury, right? Whose story is more credible? Where does the objective evidence point? When you have multiple independent witnesses, people with no direct stake in the outcome, providing consistent details that line up with one side's story and contradict the others, well, that significantly impacts overall credibility. And the fact that both the doctor and the receptionist independently filed reports against Emani for her conduct, and that Emani allegedly tried to recruit Tiara to join the lawsuit, that paints a very specific and frankly unfavorable picture of the security guard's actions and maybe her motivations,
Yeah.
and strongly suggests a narrative that's quite different from the plaintiff's core claim of being the victim of an unprovoked assault.
So we've really navigated the twists and turns of day 3 here. From Cardi B's testimony about feeling vulnerable to that striking consistency from the independent eyewitnesses, it's just clear how deeply personal stories intertwine with objective observations inside a courtroom.
It's exactly. Legal battles, they're rarely about finding one single undeniable capital T truth. They're about piecing together these fragmented perspectives, looking for those consistent threads, that corroborating evidence. And this case really, really highlights the importance of those independent witnesses in building a compelling narrative, especially when the initial claims involve such massive stakes.
Yeah, absolutely. It leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you to consider. Thinking about everything we've unpacked today, especially how those independent witnesses, the receptionist and the doctor, lined up on the lack of visible injury on Emani and Emani's own aggressive language, what would you consider the strongest piece of evidence here for either side? And knowing these details now, would you pursue a $24 million lawsuit based on what was presented? Something to chew on. Until next time, keep digging, keep questioning, and stay well informed.